Hey, it's Tea Talk Tuesday. I'm glad you guys are joining me again for another episode. Today, we are going to talk about something that you hear about all the time, and that is stress. And I know you've heard it 100 times over, and I'm going to keep saying it again 100 times over because stress is one of the most critical things that we can learn how to manage to optimize our long-term health and well-being. You guys, it is one of the 8 essential elements of health that I advocate for in my nutrition practice, because if we have excess levels of stress, we suffer from a myriad of health issues, right? Things like memory problems, brain fog, fatigue, insomnia. Sometimes you even feel wired, depression, anxiety, increased inflammation, poor metabolism. And poor metabolism, which we're going to talk about this in a couple of minutes, is linked to elevated cortisol and blood sugar levels, which are a direct result of increased levels of stress. So we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes and how it really wreaks havoc on our guts and our hormonal health. But stress can lead to slower digestion, indigestion, gas, bloating, irritable bowel syndrome, constipation. It can reduce heart health, decrease your libido, decrease your detoxification functions, which is, where our liver processes things and really detoxifies and gets rid of the toxins that we put in our bodies, decreased immune function, among many, many others. But stress really has an impact, and that's just a shorter list of what it can do to our bodies and our health and our well-being. So what exactly is stress? So stress can mean a lot of things. For some people, it might be, I have my kids home all day and they're driving me crazy and I get all stressed out because I'm trying to work or I'm trying to do something and they're interrupting me. Or it can be you're at work and you've got a really big project you're working on with a deadline coming and you're super stressed. It can mean a lot of different things, right? But scientifically speaking, or more often, what it's referring to is the sympathetic nervous system response, which you've probably heard it called fight or flight, right? And this is where our nervous system, which is our neurotransmitters, and our endocrine system, which is our stress hormones, trigger various effects throughout our bodies to really help us meet the demands of the stress threat, right? It helps us meet the demands of that fight or flight response. So in short, stress in those cases can have some positive impacts, right? It's going to increase our brain activity. It's going to expand our airways. It's going to increase our heart strength and our blood viscosity and clotting. It's going to increase our blood flow to those organs that are involved in that fight or flight response. And it's going to decrease our blood flow to the organs that are in the rest and repair mode, right? So it can have positive impacts. However, it is not meant to sustain that much stress and sustain stress over a long period of time. So the more stress we put on our bodies, the more wear and tear it does on those body systems. Now, when we experience stress, right, a few different compounds come into play in our bodies. And first is adrenaline. And you're familiar with adrenaline. Adrenaline functions as a neurotransmitter and a hormone. So it's going to travel through your nervous system really, really quickly. And it's going to be broken down by enzymes really, really quickly. And that means the effects of an increase in adrenaline are really short-lived. So think about like maybe somebody scares you and you get that quick adrenaline rush, right? You hear people refer to it as an adrenaline rush. Or you're going to ride a roller coaster and you're scared and you get that adrenaline rush, right? But it's really short-lived. It's not something that sticks around all day, every day, right? On the flip side of this, we have our stress hormones. And these come into play as a part of our endocrine system. They travel through our bloodstream versus our nervous system. And they travel very slowly, a lot slower than the neurotransmitters do. And because they're traveling a lot slower, they also take a lot longer to break down. So because they take longer to be broken down, it takes longer to eliminate them via our liver, which is where all those detoxification processes happen. So when we react to stress, what happens is we experience a burst of cortisol production. Cortisol is a stress hormone, right? So we experience stress, we release a burst of cortisol, and then these little bursts are intended to help us kind of get through that stressful moment, right? And then they stop. And then our bodies return to a normal state, a normal level. But if we're constantly being exposed to stress levels, our bodies aren't getting a chance to return to that normal state, right? Now, what happens when the cortisol bursts, right? When we release those bursts of cortisol, so it releases a steady stream of blood sugar from our storage into our bloodstreams to fuel that perceived stress, those stress demands. And that's going to shift our energy and fatigue levels, our wakefulness, our sleepiness, and even our metabolism. So what's happening for most of us is we're facing these chronic stressors all day long, right? Or sometimes even hourly, sometimes it's daily, sometimes it's weekly, but we're facing them a lot more often than our bodies are intended to be facing them. And what happens is our bodies are continuously producing cortisol. And this increase in cortisol production, and thus the subsequent increase in blood sugar levels over the long term, creates a host of health issues for our overall well-being. And it creates this high insulin state, which is also one of the hormones that signals our bodies to store fat. So you can see how it's all sort of connected, right? Stress and your hormones and the impact that it has on your overall health. Now, because we are constantly releasing cortisol, pumping blood sugar into our bloodstream and increasing our insulin levels, our bodies never have a chance to go into that rest and repair state. They are constantly in fight or flight mode from those elevated cortisol levels. And we want our bodies to get into that rest and repair state, right? And that's where we say we need to decrease our stress levels so that we can bring our bodies back into that rest and repair state. We want those neurotransmitters that are working in our nervous system to be in balance with these stress hormones that are working in the endocrine system. And you do that by finding ways to manage your stress levels. It's essential, you guys, for your long-term health, sustainability of your long-term health, and your happiness and your energy levels. So with all of that being said, how do we manage stress levels, right? That's always the question. And what I suggest first and foremost is go throughout your days, the next couple days, week maybe, jot down what the stressors are. What are the things that stress you out on a daily basis? Are there common themes or commonalities from day to day? Maybe it's, at dinner every night, you and your spouse or roommate get into this big argument about what's for dinner tonight. And it becomes a really stressful situation and you're not sure and nobody was prepared, right? And so you start to get in tune with your body, right? And you can feel how your body responds to stressful situations. So when you start to feel those stressful situations, you can say, okay, how can I respond to this and remove the negative stressor? And this isn't something you'll be able to do in the moment, but if you jot down what those stressors are, what's triggering it, you can create and develop strategies to help reduce the negative stress, right? So in the dinner situation, a simple thing like meal planning your dinners for the week so that there's no argument. And this is my husband and me all the time, you guys. If I don't meal plan, that's the argument every night. Like, what's for dinner tonight? It becomes stressful after a while. If you meal plan and you know what's for dinner, there's no question. There's no argument. You've reduced that little piece of stress from your day, from your routine. That's just one example, right? Maybe you get stressed out from the demands of work and virtual schooling, right? Which has become really a norm during this pandemic. And there's times of the day when you're ready to boil over. Let's say it's around lunchtime. You've been working, you're knee deep in a project, right? You're really productive and you want to keep going. And then all of a sudden the kids bust in and they're like, we're hungry, we want lunch, right? So you get stressed because you're like, oh, I'm right in the middle of this. So how do you handle that? Well, here's one strategy in this particular example that you could use. You can use a red, yellow, green system. What does that mean? If you're working in an office in your home and you can shut the door, or even if you're not working in an office, you can just put a sign on your desk, tape it somewhere. But if it's red, it means I am busy. Please do not disturb me. If it's yellow, it means if it's urgent, please, knock or interrupt or come in or whatever. But if it's something that can wait 10 minutes, then please wait 10 minutes, right? Or if you've got a green light, it means the door is open, I'm available, you can ask me anything. So that's just a simple system you can use to help gauge with your children, where you're at. So it can be super stressful, especially when you're constantly being interrupted, I know. And that's just a strategy that I actually learned from somebody else. So you can certainly try it if that's something that, creates a stressor for you. And those are just 2 examples of identifying stressors in the day and developing strategies to manage them, right? Other things you can do to really help with your stress levels are breathing exercises. So when you're in tune with your body and you sense those stress signals, right? Take a moment, close your eyes, and take a deep breath in for 6 seconds. And then exhale for 6 seconds and repeat that 3 times. That's going to help bring your heart rate back down. It's going to help ground you a little bit. Breathing, believe it or not, a lot of people think it's silly, it's just not necessary, but these simple breathing exercises can really help you throughout the day. Practice it 3 to 4 times a day. Even on non-stressful days, it's helpful. Sleep is another thing. You have to get adequate sleep at night. If you're not getting adequate sleep at night, it's going to throw your hormones in a tizzy, your gut microbiome in a tizzy. It wreaks havoc on all of those body systems that we talked about. Adequate sleep, 7 to 9 hours on average for an adult is adequate sleep. A lot of people think, well, I can function on 6. Studies have shown that 6 hours is as bad as getting almost no sleep. So really shoot for 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. It can help balance your hormones. It can help with your gut microbiome, your stress levels, and just so much more. Another, get outside. Get outside and connect with nature. Even if it's a 10-minute walk, right? If you get a break during the day and you can walk at work, do it. If you have time at night after dinner, go for a walk. Take your kids for a walk. It's just as good for them as it is for you. Exercise regularly. This is another thing. Exercise doesn't have to be some long drawn out workout program, you guys. Exercise can be a 30-minute brisk walk. It doesn't have to be some elaborate deal, but exercising regularly can really help with your stress levels. And staying hydrated, drinking your water. That can help as well. Now, another thing that you can do is use herbs that help the body, right, adapt to stress and encourage your body to return to that state of rest and repair that we talked about. And adaptogens are a wonderful way to do this. So what exactly are adaptogens? They're not like a specific plant family or a specific plant family, specific group of plant chemicals or anything like that. They're actually categorized based on their actions and what they do. So adaptogens are relatively non-toxic, they're relatively safe, they have beneficial effects on a range of body systems. So it's not just one thing here or one thing there, it's like a range of body systems. And they often have a modulating effect. So if a particular hormone is low or high, an adaptogen can either increase or decrease the body's production of that hormone. They have the ability to do that. And adaptogens work by affecting your stress response and the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis of the nervous endocrine system. So adaptogens are great for this whole process of managing stress and finding balance between those neurotransmitters and those stress hormones. Now, herbs that fall into this category of actions, you guys, they have been used in herbal medicine for hundreds and hundreds of years. They date back to this, ancient Chinese medicine practices. They've been around for a really, really long time. So it's not something new. It's not a new trend or anything like that. Now, adaptogens can help strengthen and stabilize our bodies and improve our body's resistance to stress by creating balance and harmony. I just love how that sounds, right? So there's different types of adaptogens, and I'm not going to get into the different types today because we could spend a lot of time talking about them, but they range from very stimulating adaptogens to more calming adaptogens. But here's just some of the more common adaptogens that you'll probably hear of or have heard of before. Things like ginseng, rhodiola, maca, licorice, schizandra, ashwagandha, holy basil. So those are some examples. There's more, but those are some examples that you've probably heard of more often than others. And again, I'm not going to get into the details of stimulating versus calming. If you have specific questions, I certainly can talk to you about it. But those are some adaptogens that you may find or hear about or even read about online and trendy articles and things like that. Adaptogens are becoming more of a common topic the more and more these doctors start studying and talking about balancing your hormones. But there's also other herbs and spices that can help with our nervous endocrine systems that aren't necessarily adaptogens. And these are things like lemon balm, St. John's wort, bay leaf, nutmeg, mimosa, vanilla, turmeric, which we've talked about before, chamomile, lavender, tart cherry juice, and there's some others in that category as well. Now, regardless of adaptogens or other herbs and spices, the power of having a daily tea can have therapeutic effects, okay? Teas of all kinds, you guys, are beneficial for our endocrine nervous systems. And it really doesn't matter if it's black, green, white, herbal, they all have positive effects, right, for our body systems. So don't get caught up in which one to drink. I am going to talk about a few key players that can help when our stress levels get really out of control or we have a really stressful day and we just kind of need to bring ourselves back to a balanced state, right? But with drinking tea and just having that daily cup of tea, these herbs in these teas, not only they benefit our nervous system, right? But not only are we getting the benefits through swallowing them, they're highly aromatic. So when we're swallowing them, we're also inhaling the vapors from the tea. And so we're benefiting from that aspect of having a cup of tea as well. And studies have shown that, this is a funny study, but studies have shown that holding a warm cup of tea in your hands actually encourages warmth and kindness and helps you to respond positively to others and perceive others in a better light. So it's that afternoon cup of tea. You have your afternoon tea party with a couple of friends and you sit around and you talk, and tea is really great for those conversations because it's uplifting and aromatic and warming. So that's why I love tea. So incorporating tea into your daily routine is one of the best ways to allow these herbs to really multitask and help you feel better. So Sapology obviously can help with that because they have lots and lots of different types of teas. Now, we've talked about a lot of teas over the days. What I want to talk to you about specifically with the Sapology ones today are just a couple of teas that can really hone in on those days when your stress levels are so high. Maybe you had a really stressful day at work and you need something to bring you back down into balance, right? They have some things that can help with this. I can't say it's not gonna cure your stress or anything like that. You have to have a holistic approach to managing your stress levels. This is just something that can aid in the overall process of managing stress. So first is the Pure Vitality from our Heal Thyself line of teas. Now, Pure Vitality is going to help support your cognitive function, reduce mental fatigue in cases of mental stress. It can even enhance your physical performance. But what's in it is ginseng root, ashwagandha root, which we talked about, both ginseng and ashwagandha, holy basil leaf, again, another adaptogen. So 3 adaptogens, first 3 ingredients. It also has hibiscus flower, citrus sinensis peel, and ginger root. So there you see the use of adaptogens in a tea that can help you. Now, I would not necessarily drink the Pure Vitality every single day and incorporate it as part of a daily routine. Again, it's part of the Heal Thyself line of teas, so it's a medicinal tea. But for those days where it's been a super stressful day or you're expecting a super stressful day, you can either enjoy it in the morning or at the end of the day. Like if your stress levels are an 8, 9, or 10 out of 10, maybe a good day to enjoy a cup of Pure Vitality. Okay. Another great option. This is, I don't know if you guys can see it. The Pure Vitality is the one that comes in the yellow bag. So if you're looking online, you can look for it. Another one is the, it's actually called Stress Reliever, and that's an herbal tea. Yep, it's an herbal tea, stress reliever. Not a medicinal tea, so not part of the Heal Thyself line, but it uses your more everyday herbs and spices to deliver you with that more calming blend of herbs to help with those stress levels. It includes apple bits, hazelnut leaves, pumpkin bits, ginkgo leaves, nettle leaves, lemongrass, and St. John's wort. So it's an herbal tea. It's caffeine free. It's a great one to incorporate as part of like an herbal wind down routine. I like to have a wind down routine at night where I enjoy a cup of herbal tea almost on a nightly basis, because there's so many different herbal teas and the benefits are tremendous. So this is one that you can incorporate into that. Another herbal tea you can incorporate into your daily routine would be Don't Worry, Be Happy. This one has chamomile, peppermint, and licorice root. So those were the specific ones I wanted to call out today for those really stressful times, right? But I wanted to talk to you just in general about stress because times are tough right now. I get it. But finding ways to manage stress can be really beneficial for so many different body systems that we've got going on a day-to-day basis. So with that, don't stress, be happy, get out, get some fresh air, reconnect with nature. Getting outside, you guys, is another great way to de-stress. I have tried to make a point over the past month, even when it was super cold and 30 degrees here, to get outside. If that sun was out, I was outside. Even if it wasn't out, we were outside 10 minutes. Just get out and soak in the fresh air. It's so relaxing and so good for your mind and those stress levels. So that's Tea Talk Tuesday. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Bye.